What is up, everyone? Hope you're doing well today. JD here, and I'm really excited to be doing an unboxing with you today. If you're looking at the screen and you're trying to figure out what's going on, you're either wondering what's in the box, or you may have been able to kind of put two and two together based off of the theme of the knives that I have laid out here with the box. So let's go ahead and break into this because I can't wait any longer to see this awesome new knife from Civivi.
Awesome!
Oh yeah. So let's get into this box. You're probably going to see your typical Civivi case. Yeah. Make sure this gets tossed. That's the moisture absorbing. Let's get this box out of the way. This is not sponsored by Civivi in any way, shape, or form. And let's have a look in here and see what we got. We got our usual stickers. We have our warranty and warnings. We have our microfiber cloth with the Civivi logo. And we are finally into the knife. And as you probably can make out here, this is Civivi's new button lock Elementum. Ooh, that is nice.
That's what she said.
I picked up the 14C 28N steel coated blade. I went with the all black. I don't have anything that's all black currently in my rotation. So I was very interested in this particular knife. As you can see, this is a button lock only. It has no flipper tab like the Elementum, and its blade length is very similar to that of the fixed blade Elementum. As you can see at the pivot, not that there's a pivot on the fixed blade, I realize that. I hope nobody knocks on me in the comments for that.
He's allowing Mike Tyson to trap him in the corner.
But I just want a center point so you can kind of see the length of the handle on the button lock is actually a little bit longer than the fixed blade, which has this beautiful G10. And you can tell that the blade length is actually a little bit longer on the fixed blade. The blade length on the actual Elementum button lock is exactly 3.5 inches, whereas on the fixed blade it is 4 inches. So hopefully that gives you a point of reference. And I probably should have opened up the actual original Elementum flipper so you could really get a real good sense of the 3.5, and the 4-inch variety. So they have one at each step of size here, which is very interesting. The flipper in the original is in the D2 steel. As you can tell here, I did my acid etch and stone wash mod on this particular one to help with the rust and corrosion resistance. And this has the micarta, which this was originally the dark green, and I did do a little bit of a dye and a bleach to lighten that up. The action is really good. It is a very unique way to deploy the blade. You actually do have to use a little bit of wrist flicking to get that to open, since there's no studs present and no thumb flipper. This is definitely, for me, a really good size for EDC. And this would be just an EDC knife. It's not going to be a heavy duty knife or a hard use knife. I don't know much about this plunger system that Civivi's implemented here to release the blade. It looks very similar, if you're familiar with the Boker Strike, that plunger lock mechanism where it has a little bit of a thicker part for the piece that pops out with the knife to lock it in place almost dead center. I don't know how well you can see that here. And actually, you know what? I have light here. Let's see if we can see down in there. So hopefully you can see the little piece in the middle there, the plunger that actuates the blade. I don't want to cut myself trying to show this to you, but as you can see, when you push that in, it actuates the stopper, and that's what allows the blade to drop. The blade is very drop shut. It's really smooth and easy, even behind the camera, trying to show this to you guys to deploy it. I mean, you can see I'm using 2 fingers to deploy and retract the blade. It's very smooth, very buttery. It definitely feels like it's on bearings. I can't really, yeah, it's definitely on bearings. You can see it here. It's a very thin, slicey knife. If you compare it to the profile of the original Elementum, it looks very similar as far as the blade thickness. And just a quick profile comparison, the button lock is, gosh, that's really close to call, but I think the button lock is slightly thinner than the micarta version. So this, again, this is just an initial impressions review of the knife. I think it's a really cool fidget factor knife if you like to fidget with your knives. This is definitely something that you should check out. I think that this, for me, because the original Elementum, as you can see here, my hand really does swallow the whole knife. And it's a great lightweight EDC pocket knife just for some light duty items, some light duty work. But the button lock to me actually is a better sized knife. It keeps in that lightweight theme and it gives a little bit of a fun fidget factor for the actual knife. And I keep wanting to slam that way too hard. It really doesn't. It just needs the lightest bit of flicking. I am having a little bit of trouble because I am behind the camera. The texturing, Civivi has been doing an outstanding job with the texturing on their G10. I have really enjoyed, I have a brazen over here in the knife roll that I really like the texturing on. I also have an Imperium over here that you probably can't see. It's a little off camera. They do a really good job of giving you nice grippy texturing without it being so aggressive that it is going to saw down the inside of your pants pocket. It does have the steel liners, and they are, I should have kept the flashlight over here. They are hollowed out. Let me see if I can get an angle there for you guys to really see it. It's really hard because I picked the black, which I didn't really think about at the time, but hopefully, there you go, right there. You guys can see the liner is hollowed out. It does have the back spacer as opposed to the actual liners being milled out or drilled out for the lanyard hole, if that's your thing. The deep pocket carry clip is exactly the same. It doesn't bother me that much. That has been my only complaint about this, is I think what Civivi is trying to do is give enough lip for this as it slides into the pocket to catch the pants and go on to or into the pocket very smoothly, very easily. But when you're actually holding the knife, it does create just the tiniest little bit of hot spot right there for me on my palm. Nothing awful, but it is there. I really like this. This is really nice. Let me give you guys some comparisons of other knives. Obviously, you have the Elementum and the fixed blade Elementum there, but if you do not have these knives, I'd be surprised if you don't have an Elementum in your inventory as popular of a knife as this is. But let me give you some comparison to some more commonplace knives. So here I have my Para 3. And you can see at the pivots there, the 3-inch versus the 3.5-inch blade. The button lock does have just a touch more length, but not much. And here the Paramilitary 2 with the Flytanium jade micarta scales. And as you can see, the blade length from the pivot is almost identical. And the Paramilitary 2 does have just a touch bit more blade length on the handles. Let me really quickly just give you a comparison to 2 other knives that I like to compare with new knives on my channel, and that is the Doug Ritter. As you can see here, Blade length, again, almost identical from the pivot. The Elementum from the pivot does come out just a touch more, and the Doug Ritter does have a little bit more handle length. And a comparison to the Deca, which is a little bit smaller from the pivot, which this, to me, this knife at this size, I feel like gives the best blade length for the smaller folding pocket knives. And it is a little bit shorter, even with that kick out that I've mentioned in other videos that usually gets it to that length, gives you that spot for your pinky. The button lock is just a touch longer. What am I going to carry this with? There's actually a couple companion carries that I am interested in carrying that with, and that's why I have this particular caddy over here. I am going to carry this with the Olight i5T EOS with that little Stardust setup, with my Lion Steel Best Man 2 and my Fisher Space Pen, always with my redeemed creation. And I know it's off camera, but that'll also be with my iPhone 11 Pro. That is one of the types of carries with this particular knife. Try to get that in there. That is a snug fit still, hasn't quite broken in yet. Another carry, if I'm going more minimalist, is going to be either the Leatherman Squirt or the Gerber armbar. That's if I just wanted to carry one other tool that has, you know, Phillips head, scissors, backup blade, or pliers in this particular instance. So that's what I would probably carry with. I know this is a brand new knife. That in my mind is what I imagined carrying this particular knife with. This is really a great looking EDC lightweight pocket knife with a very fun fidget factor. I don't know what you think about the fact that it does not have the flipper tab, which I think improves the lines of the knife. I think that makes it just that much more attractive not to have that flipper tab sticking out. And then they didn't do any sort of thumb stub deployment that you typically see with this type of knife that has that action, sort of like what you see here with the Deca. But they just went straight with the button lock. Don't know if anyone has tried to test the strength of that yet, but again, for a little lightweight pocket knife, for opening some packages, envelopes, cutting some string, threads, whatever, this is going to be a great knife. I expect this to be a hit, and I'm really looking forward to carrying this and doing a long-term review. I did debate the Damascus and the carbon fiber, but I really like the 14C28N as an EDC steel. I think it is phenomenal. I feel like it gives you really good strength and edge retention, and it's still easy to sharpen. I think it's that sweet spot of a knife blade, especially when you consider the price point of some of the knives that you've seen Civivi using this on recently. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thanks for checking the video out, and stay tuned for a long-term review on this particular knife. Thanks, guys. Peace.